y'all. Welcome to episode 201 of Consignment Chats. Oh my goodness, this is going to be a reseller wellness episode. We will get into that, dive deep on where we're going with that in a little bit. But first, we got to start off talking about our lives, us people. What's going on, ladies?
Well, you just had a giant win. You just birthed, and I am saying that because it was a labor of love. What did you birth, Molly?
Hey, y'all. Welcome to Consignment Chats. This is Molly, and I'll be joined by my co-hosts Libby and Samantha. Y'all, I finally completed the second reseller coloring book. That's right.
Woo!
You heard it here. There it is. And y'all, this is not just any reseller coloring book. I was proud of the first one, but this one I'm beaming because it is the Fearless reseller coloring book, because 50% of the proceeds are going to go to the Fearless Living Fund. How about that?
Look at all these pages. Oh, this one's my favorite.
Put mushrooms in there for Samantha. We got our Boss Reseller remix. We got a lot of sponsors on this coloring book.
So many sponsors.
Real quick, I'm going to read this through for those on podcast. Got to give a shout out to our sponsors of the reseller, the Fearless Reseller Coloring Book. That would be the Fearless Living Fund. That would be the Thrifty app, the Reseller Remix, Boss Reseller Remix, Four Corners of Consignment, our friend Sarah Marshall, My Reseller Genie, I'd Flip That, our friend Vanessa at Brightest Holidays, ListPerfectly, Consign Cloud, our favorite ARC Thrift that we're going to get ourselves to Colorado and visit someday soon, and of course us. We sponsored a page.
Yes.
Y'all, I am so excited. Nothing made me happier than when it got published and I got to send that to our friend Diane Lassonde and say, sweetheart, it is here. It is here, and it will be here forever. This will always live in the Amazon store, and it will always be giving money back to Fearless Living Fund, which supports the Blind Center of Nevada, which is Diane's heart and soul, her goal, what she wants us to do in honor of her. So
when she speaks, we listen.
When Diane speaks, we listen. Samantha is Diane's mini-me, and that's why she's our accountability person, because when Samantha speaks, we listen too.
Yes.
So, put them both on the same side of the coin, but Samantha, I love you dearly, but Diane's a step or two up there. She's
absolutely. I'm just glad to be in the same circle. That's all I'm saying.
Right. So this was, a constant getting shot back to me from KDP saying, oh, well, this isn't right and that isn't right. And it was hard to keep going because I am one of those people that when it's done, it's done. I check it off the list, but I did it, dadgummit.
You did it like 5 times. You did it. You had to keep redoing it from scratch. You did great.
And I'm like, it was the exact same thing that I did for the first one. So I don't understand why, no matter what I changed, the same email. I kept thinking, do they have a glitch in their email? Because no matter how I adjust it, the same email with the same things came back. And I was like, what is happening? Mm-hmm. What is happening? But you know what? Persevered. Here it is. It is out there.
It's done.
Take yourselves to Amazon. You put in that search, the reseller coloring book, or you go to our website and it is linked up in our Amazon store. Get yourself a copy or 7.
7.
Grab the first one while you're there too. Yeah.
You're there. If you hadn't gotten our first of the series, you can get number 1 and number 2, but know that number 2 is also giving.
Yes.
I mean, I hate to say, I hate to have a favorite child, but I'm thinking your second one is your favorite, right?
It is because of the meaning behind it. Yes.
Absolutely.
And all of the wonderful people that got to participate and
100%
in support was just
backed by so many people in this industry that we adore. And they were 100% in. If I did not get to you, I apologize. I know we'll have some people that'll hear about this and say, but I didn't know, and I'm sorry. It just, these are the people that are in. Who knows? Maybe there'll be another sponsored one down the road. I need a break for a while, though. I'm not going to lie. I got to I can't jump back into the coloring book. This one really drove me down a long, bumpy road. So
I think it'll be like childbirth, right? Like you forget how horrible and painful it is,
right?
And then you do it again, and you're like, never again.
Mm-hmm.
And then you do it again. Yeah, it's kind of one of those things. Like you forget the pain.
Yeah.
Because the results are so amazing.
Yeah. But I'm excited because as you've heard on previous episodes, y'all, the Boss Reseller Remix Blind Center, Fearless Living, that is so much in our hearts and souls. We are ambassadors now to Fearless Living and helping grow knowledge about what they do and who they are and get them support. And so this was just absolutely a labor of love and something that I'm so glad that we, the ladies of C Chats, were able to get behind and do. So yes, thank y'all for your support through it all and listening to me go, wah, 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 wah.
How fun will it be to have these at the Boss Reseller Remix this year?
Right?
Right? I'm thinking we might have to have a couple on hand.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, there will definitely be some.
Maybe we may even put together a few giveaways for Vicky and Katie and Teresa to put out with some really nice coloring pens or pencils and do sets that they could do giveaways from us along the way.
Absolutely.
Ooh, good idea.
So if you haven't done your plans yet for Boss, jump in there, if for nothing else, for a coloring book and a tour of the Blind Center of Nevada.
Mm-hmm.
And you can hang out with us because we do it.
I love hearing about all the people that are making plans for Boss already. Tickets are not on sale yet, but they will be soon. And yes, it's so exciting to hear about people that are already booking their hotels. We've already got flights booked. It's going to be great.
Yeah. It'd be nice to have to get our flights booked. We'll have actually by the time this episode releases, maybe it will be.
We have the hotel. That's all that matters right now. Yes, we will get there one way or another.
One way or another. If we have to drive, Libby.
Yeah, my flight's already been changed 3 times. So
are you kidding me?
It's gonna be great. It's gonna be great.
Poor Samantha.
Oh my gosh. So that was our big thing of the week and it just happened this morning, was the Fearless Reseller coloring book. Good job, Molly.
Share it.
We talked so much about celebrating the small wins. This was a huge win.
It was huge.
Guys, like when you get this, blood, sweat, and tears went into this. Like that's Molly worked her butt off on this. I did absolutely nothing other than moral support. That's it.
Same.
Y'all probably gave some ideas here and there when I was stumped on something, and you did go through every page with me to spell check and approve. So I'm giving you credit, ladies. And
I like how she says that, because if there's any errors that anyone finds, obviously it's my fault.
I'm just staying out of the mix of this one after last week's episode. I'm just gonna say, all right, you guys can take on any mistakes.
It was a team effort. I know that. I thank you for the credit. There was a lot of work, but I don't think I would have ever been able to do it without the mental, moral support, because there were a lot of down times of frustration, and my girls got my back always.
And you learned always, and you learned more about branding. Now you know that it's important to not only have a logo, but have a logo that's easy to turn into a coloring logo.
Correct, y'all. Yeah. Correct. That was a big lesson when I'm like, oh yeah, just shoot me your logo in all the formats and da-da-da-da-da-da. And yeah, if it's not in black and white, it is not easy to turn into a coloring book page.
So all of your brand clients now, I'm guessing, will be receiving a black and white logo that is, yes.
Mm-hmm. We're doing that. So yeah.
It was hilarious when Vanessa did her part and she sent the Brightest Holiday one, which Molly helped her with and did for her as part of our coaching and stuff. And yeah, I said, well, that one should be easy and done already. And she's like, you'd think so.
You'd think so, but Molly didn't do it in black and white. Yeah.
Well, all right. So look at that. Look at that. Taking something that you struggled with, using it to make things better. Yes.
Correct.
And
Correct.
guys, you know what the moral of this story is? Because there is a moral to it, is that you need to know your why.
Yeah.
You need to know your why,
Yes.
because when times get tough and you don't feel like it, you can always go back to your why and just get that extra little bit you need to keep going.
Yeah. All I had to do was pop Sweet Diane's little face in my head, and I'm like,
Mhm.
"Dadgummit, this is getting done."
Yep.
Yes.
So I'm going to link up our episode. I think we have an episode on why. I'm pretty sure. Know
Pretty
your
sure
why.
somewhere. If not, it'll come out the following week.
Right?
Write that down. Somebody write that down.
I'm writing it down right now. So I don't really have anything to top that from this week. Like,
No, my sales were good.
Yeah.
I'll just do a quick over. I had good sales, good sourcing. Nick and I had some success in the sourcing world. We did a couple of Friday early yard sale swing-ins that we found some goodies, and then spent Saturday morning, went back to a rummage sale for their half off. Didn't think we'd find anything, left with 2 bags full. So, hey, winner. We paid like, I don't know, 30 something dollars for 2 big like IKEA, although it was my reseller Genie and Boss bags, but the IKEA size bags full of stuff. So, yeah.
Yeah, and you've already sold some of it. So that's
Mhm.
amazing.
Y'all, listed a Toomey cosmetic bag, like a travel hanging cosmetic toiletry bag.
Mm-hmm.
Listed that last night. Quick just took some pictures, threw it up there. 30 minutes gone, $66 out the door.
Nice.
Wow.
Paid $2 for it. 66, 30 minutes, out.
Did you comp
That's
it?
awesome.
Did I comp it? I looked
Don't
quick. Like
do
I
not give her regrets. No, we
I know.
I
just
did. I did the quick because I do sell similar. So I immediately popped them up, grabbed the one. Theirs was 90 new. So I went 60. I think maybe I did like 73 because it was an offer
Mhm.
on Poshmark that I took right away and was like, it's out the door, man. See you, bye. Yeah.
Exactly.
But it
Yeah.
literally, when we say, did I comp it, for about maybe a minute and 15 seconds.
That's some fast money right there.
Yeah.
I love it.
Yeah.
Especially for
Yes.
Poshmark.
Yeah. I couldn't believe it sold on Poshmark that quick.
Yeah.
Like, boom.
I don't know if I've ever had a quick sale on Poshmark.
Nick had
That's
just
awesome.
cross-listed it. I listed it. I was moving on to the next bag, and he's like, oh, the Toomey. And he cross-listed it. And then 30 minutes later, a pop-up. And I went, oh, the Toomey. And he's like, what? I just cross-listed. I go, yeah. And it's sold.
Yeah,
That's awesome.
Samantha, I don't think I've ever had a quick sale on Poshmark either. Like eBay, it happens frequently where you put something up and you're like,
yeah, right.
dang.
Yeah, right. You already got
Posh?
watchers and all like that happens quite a bit. One time I can remember I listed a vintage Hello Kitty kids pajama set. I believe it was a top and bottom.
Aww.
And yeah, super cute. Listed it for, I don't know, in the teens, probably like $15 or $19. And I remember I went into ListPerfectly and I had all my tabs up for every platform, and I listed it to eBay, Poshmark, and by the time I got to Facebook, it had already sold on eBay and Poshmark.
What?
Yeah. I was like, I didn't even know it had loaded and it was already sold. Apparently, it was something that I should have valued higher, but that was fine. Then
I was going to say, did you fret about that?
No, I had to cancel I had too many questions. I had to cancel the order on Poshmark. Somebody was already commenting on it saying, why is this not available? Like it was a whole thing. I remember specifically sitting on my couch watching TV, just gonna cross list for the night, and I was just like jaw dropped. My husband's like, what is going on? And I'm like, I've never had something sell this quickly.
So lesson, y'all, vintage Hello Kitty PJs, bolo.
Yes.
Bolo item. Yeah.
Definitely. Those were the same. That was the same consignment client that brought me a Flintstone ceiling fan, still in the box with all of the stuff. It had been opened, but never, like, all of the hardware was still in the plastic, so it had never been installed to anything. It was so cool. I kind of wanted to keep it. I don't know why. It was just really cool. But that sold for good money too. I think I sold that one on Mercari.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Wow.
That sounds awesome.
I've I'm just going along, doing my reseller reflections every day. If you want to know about my sales, what's working, what's not, go
So
ahead.
she's just not gonna talk to us anymore. We just have to go and watch her reseller reflections.
If you guys need to know anything about me, just go to Reseller Reflections because I just throw it all up there, literally.
Pretty soon we're gonna start calling her in the morning. She's gonna be like, I put it on the reflection already. What? Just wanted to say good morning.
Oh, man.
I use all my emotional energy there.
All of it.
We get nothing, y'all. We get nothing. Oh, Lord.
All right. Let's jump into some wellness.
Yeah.
Then.
So
Let's
we're doing
talk about
inside
it.
reseller wellness. We're going to focus on autoimmune diseases. And I just happen to be surrounded by two people that have autoimmune diseases and are resellers. So, you know, most of you may not know this, right? And there's a reason you may not know this. You know, we've done our series. We're talking to different people that have different, wellness issues, whether it's, mental, physical, they all come together. They all affect our lives and our businesses. But you may not know that these two women have an autoimmune disease and they cope really well, but it does affect their daily lives. It is something that they struggle with. And you can run a successful reselling business and also, manage these things. So we're going to get some tips and tricks. You are not alone if you are out there struggling with it. That is why they are so brave to open up and talk about this. They want to help other people, other resellers, and, you're not alone.
You're not.
So,
we got you.
Yeah. So I think we talk a little bit about, and as much as you're comfortable, Molly, we'll start with you, like what you struggle with. And then at the end, we're going to get to, ways that they cope and reasons you don't even know that they're struggling with these things.
All right. I will start with the fact that I have Hashimoto's, which is a thyroid autoimmune disease. And that daggum thyroid controls everything in your body. It's like a master switch, man. It does all kinds of things. So, I got diagnosed, 20 years ago. It started with hypothyroidism and then found out as I went on that I actually had Hashimoto's. So makes you there's all kinds of things. I mean, you can go down a rabbit hole looking at all the things. And when I first got it, started going down rabbit holes. And that's my first word of advice to everybody. Don't get on those Facebook groups and go down those rabbit holes.
Yes.
It's too much. It's like, oh, my fingernail broke. Do you think it's Hashimoto's? Oh, my eyelash fell. Yeah. Come on.
And
now.
the sadness, like I do want to make sure that we mention that because a lot of people don't have anywhere to turn or a community, and I live in a rural area where I didn't even have the proper doctors or dietitians or things for my issue. And so you go to those, you'd search gastroparesis, I did, or you search whatever, and they're depressing. Like those people, a lot of those people are in there and they're struggling, and it's a bunch of people that don't know how to cope and they're struggling, and then they do it together and it pulls everybody down together. So
it's easy to get sucked into. So
I
learned that quickly and decided that I found a couple of people in there that I felt had well-educated feedback or posts. And I kind of did a little bit of a dive into them and what their things were. And then I got off of it. I literally left the group and I felt like I have enough initial as a new diagnosed patient, but it's still stuff you struggle with every single day. It's the tiredness, just very lethargic, dealing with weight and joint pain. And there's all kinds of things on the list that you deal with. And, but that's just kind of in a bubble. That's kind of the main things that I think I deal with is, I do have ADD. So I think the Hashimoto's also makes that a little harder because of the tiredness. Lethargy just makes the focus in the ADD harder. So there's kind of that in a bubble. And then as Libby said, we'll do this and then we'll get into the other stuff.
Yeah. So Samantha, can you tell us a little bit about your journey?
Yeah, so I woke up Mother's Day of 2013, sick to my stomach, couldn't figure out what was going on. And God, it was a long journey of tests and doctors and hospitals and all kinds of stuff. And 8 months later, I had lost like 80 pounds, and they discovered that my stomach was paralyzed. So it's idiopathic. I don't have diabetes or anything like that, although it is very common for people that have diabetes. My stomach is paralyzed, and then it also affected my esophagus, my bladder. I have interstitial cystitis in my bladder. So I can't digest things. My stomach doesn't secrete the acid that is used to break things down. It doesn't move to squish and break everything down. I've tried a lot of different surgeries and procedures and whatnot, but so I have a very limited diet of what I can eat and how to handle it.
Just rest assured, sushi is not off her list.
Sushi is totally fine. Yes.
So, all right. So let's say somebody is new, they've just been diagnosed, right? You both kind of touched on how you struggled with, finding people to talk to or finding a supportive community, and went down negative, rabbit holes, and maybe were listening to the wrong things that weren't uplifting and moving you forward. What would you say? I mean, because there's obviously some sadness when you're diagnosed. There's some, grief there. There's a lot of different things, and this goes for pretty much all illnesses, right?
Sure.
But after you kind of get through that initial like grief and sadness, what would you say would be the healthiest, best thing? What advice would you give?
For me, first of all, it was coming to that realization that this isn't going anywhere. So I can either choose to dwell on it and be sad, or figure out how to succeed and be happy dealing with this, because it is forever. And with autoimmune diseases, once you have one, you most likely will get more in the future. And, I know that I've got more things happening now that are because of that. Right now, there are ways I have learned through diet and things. There are ways to kind of put things into remission if you are so good about doing that. But I think the biggest thing for me was that mental realization that I can either sit here and grieve, or I can figure out what my new way of life is. How am I going to move forward with this? This is how it's forever. So am I forever going to be sad and depressed and limited, or am I going to figure out my new goals and what I can do to feel happy, good, and successful? That comes from, again, I think a lot of reading. Finding good blogs of people who are uplifting, who deal with that. I got some through a health person when I lived in Pennsylvania with this, who gave me some good blog places to go. But it is doing the research, and you'll know. I mean, you can read 3 paragraphs of somebody's writing or 3 posts in somebody's Facebook and know pretty quick, are they in a good place with this disease or a bad place? And I always want to recommend choose the one in the good place, because you need people who are going to educate you in a positive way, not woe is me with you. You don't want to you don't want to eat together. You want to strive together and build together. So you really need to read and know. In your gut the first time you read it, probably even if your gut is paralyzed. Sorry, Samantha, I had to say that.
Are we allowed to joke about that? Okay.
Even though my gut doesn't have the feelings, I'll feel it. Yeah, sure. Okay.
Your gut that this is a good place for me to educate myself. And it's just finding a community that understands you. I mean, I've got these 2 girls that, even Libby's been watching me go through this for 12 plus years now. And even though she doesn't know it by having it, she knows me now well enough to say to me, have you been taking your vitamins, young lady?
Right. Right.
You can't go without that. You don't absorb them. You have to take them. So it's finding those people that will, keep you accountable, keep you, who love you, care about you, and want to build you up and not cry with you on the couch all day long,
Right. Yeah. Oh man. I mean, I spent the first 8 months just trying to figure out what was wrong with me. So you have that whole depressing saga of like, I worked at the hospital where doctors did not believe me. At one point, I was in the hospital for over 10 days. They still couldn't figure out what was wrong with me. And my general surgeon, who was also one of my good friends at the time, came into the room and he said, "You need to hurry up. You need to get dressed. The other doctor is coming down the hallway and she's going to admit you to the psych unit." And I said, "What?" And he goes, like, seriously, like he's throwing clothes at me. My mom just so happened to be in the room visiting me. He goes, "Can you drive her? Well, she needs to go." And I got dressed and I like snuck out of the hospital. He discharged me through the back door. And she wanted to send me to the hospital because they couldn't, or the psych hospital, because they couldn't figure out what was wrong with me. It must be in my head. So I dealt with a lot of doubt then too, of like, is this all in my head? Is this, once I finally got a diagnosis, they said from another hospital, another doctor, they said, the nurse called me, said, "Your test results came back. Your stomach is paralyzed. You only digest, 20% of your food at any given time. So you'll just need to be on a liquid diet for the rest of your life. Good luck." And like literally hung up the phone. I had to call her back and say, "What's it called? Like, what do I have?"
Right.
And then she told me to Google it. So advocate for yourself is a big thing.
Yes.
Yeah, and I think we saw that. I'm going to link up the episode with Mikey, Bags of Money.
Yes.
Same thing is that whole, advocacy. Like you have to, in this healthcare system, you have to be your best advocate. Nobody else is going to do it for you.
Yeah, and I worked in that system. Like I thought I was in the system and knew everything I needed to know, and I was still being bounced around. And eventually, I mean, I had to doctor at a major university 6 hours away so that I could get somebody that would sit down and talk to me. And they still thought I was going to need a feeding tube by the time I was 30. So I'm 35 and no feeding tube. Like, yay. Clearly I'm fine. I gained all the weight back. Don't worry.
Very healthy. You're very healthy.
Oh,
yes.
Yeah. Beyond healthy. I got lots of other issues now.
And talking about this and being an advocate for yourself, I also want to throw this little kind of PSA out there, this little thing that autoimmune diseases tend to be like you don't see them, right? They're not a visual disease. You don't see somebody with a cast or, that kind of thing. And so it's hard for people with autoimmune diseases that are having the things like, my joints ache, I can't move, I'm tired. And people will just think, oh, you're just lazy. And that is a huge, huge issue that happens in the autoimmune disease world because it's not a visible disease. It's not something they can see that you fight daily. So if you don't have one, keep that in mind to be compassionate of those that do, because I mean, you can be in the middle of Boss Reseller Remix and get hit with utter exhaustion. And no, you're not hungover from the night before. You're just, it's that disease happening. And, just kind of keeping that in mind and remind yourself too, that that is going to happen. I can't tell you how many times that happens, and it can beat on your self-esteem because you start thinking, oh my gosh, they just think I'm fat and lazy and no.
Right.
You're not, and you're not. So just hang on to that and remember that it's not visible and they don't understand, and they either want to know more, like Libby wanted to know more and has been very supportive, or they don't. And if they don't, then just, like,
they're not your people.
They're not your people, and move on.
Yeah.
But, I really want to get into that for a second, because that's a really, really interesting point. Is a lot of these things are invisible, right? They're not, you can't see them, but they're there, but you can't see them. So there's kind of like two parts to that. There's dealing with, other people that maybe think one thing, of you. Right. And then there's what you think about yourself.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And how you handle that. So let's talk about, the inside is more important and what you think about yourself. What are some strategies for dealing with that when you think, all right, everybody just thinks I'm being lazy or I'm hungover, or like, what's that internal dialogue like?
Well, I do want to say, especially now, 13 years ago, mental health support was not as easy to get to. And I know it's still very hard in many parts of our country. However, there are apps, you can literally go on Facebook and type in, counseling or therapy. And so if you feel yourself getting depressed or sinking down into you just need somebody to talk to, you don't have somebody around you, or even if you do, my husband, extremely supportive, been through this whole thing with me. I still needed somebody else to talk to. I was very, very depressed. Even after my diagnosis, then I was depressed of like, what do you mean I can never eat broccoli ever again, or strawberries, and finally going and talking to somebody and talking to a counselor. I only needed to go a couple times. It made me feel so much better. It's great, but I can't believe how long I put it off because, and again, as someone that worked in healthcare and ran a mental health clinic, I did not want to go and talk to anybody because I was fine. So be okay to reach out to people and get the help you need.
I really love that idea of, putting that first at the forefront, because before you can deal with what other people are thinking of you, you need to get your mental resolve, and you need to know, kind of where you are, because otherwise all of those external forces can be that much more damaging, not knowing where you are. You can internalize those things that people are saying about you, thinking about you.
Definitely.
All right. Yeah.
Yeah.
So what do you think, Molly?
Well, I think I still struggle with that some, but that's, I think, part of my personality sometimes is I get in trouble all the time from Libby for using negative terms towards myself. So I do still struggle with that, but I don't, I guess because of my support system, I don't think I go too deep with it, right? Like I'm able to pull myself back out when I have those thoughts. And I'm like, you know what? I gotta give my body a break. Like I can go, and then I have to stop. I can't.
Yeah.
It's knowing that, and it's being able to say to others, I can't. Let's go. We go to Boss. We go, and then I did it with Samantha at Boss when we had the Fremont Street stuff, and I was like, I can't. I can't.
Yeah.
I will meet you downstairs when you get back, but I've got to lay down right now. My body is like done. Everything hurt. My brain was tired, and I just had to stop. And that's the biggest thing for me is if I go too much and get my body too down, then my brain gets down. And that's when you need that pick me up from, whether it's your husband. And I'm blessed, like Samantha, with a very supportive husband. I've not made him, but he has been willing to read articles. One time I found a beautiful article written by a spouse about his spouse with his wife with an autoimmune disease. And I somewhere I saved it. I wish I could find it, but it was an amazing article. And it was like everything that any of us with autoimmune diseases would want people in our lives to see and feel and think. And it really opened Nick's mind and really made him more aware. We use the term spoons in our house. And so he'll realize. And
tell us about the spoons, because I love that analogy.
So I wake up every morning typically with a full set of spoons in my head. My body, I got it. I'm ready to roll. I'm like, let's take on the world. And then I do whatever I do. And typically around 2:00, I have thrown my spoons all over the floor. I have no more spoons left. It's my energy level. It's my focus level. My brain just stops. It's like, you're done. You're absolutely done. So I've tried to reschedule myself so that I do the bulk of what's necessary work in those morning hours when I know I'm at my best. And then my chill time later in the day when I know my spoons are all on the floor. So
and then you have an awesome husband that comes home and sees you sitting on the couch and maybe there's still some dishes next to the sink, or you only got halfway done listing that thing on the mannequin. Then he says, "Oh babe, you ran out of spoons. Okay, let's clean these spoons up. Let's rejuvenate you."
Let me pick some up for you. He'll come in. Sometimes he's so dramatic, y'all. He really should have been an actor on Broadway. I say that. He comes in and he'll look around every now and then and be like, man, look at all these spoons on the floor. You must have had you must have had a kick butt morning because there's a lot of spoons on the floor now. Like,
yeah, I love that analogy of the spoons. So, all right. That's one way to deal with with outside forces. Like once you get your head on straight and you know how to talk to yourself, like you can have these little analogies. Like Molly has the spoon analogy. I think you're more than willing to share that with anyone, right?
Sure. I got it from somewhere. In fact, it may have been from that article that I read 12 years ago. That might have been where the spoons came from, because we've been using it for probably 10 years. And it probably did come from that article. So anybody can get your spoons, y'all.
So, all right. So that's one way to deal. That's definitely one way you can deal with like outside forces and how to make people more aware of what you're struggling with. What are some other ways? Yeah.
Using spoons is a lot less detrimental to your self-esteem than saying, oh, you look totally beat down, like you're exhausted. Like, you know what I mean?
Oh, yeah.
Like, you came home, was like, oh my gosh, you're totally beat down and exhausted and da-da-da-da-da. And then you're like, oh yeah, God, I must really, but when you come home and go, I see your spoons are all over the floor. And I'm like, yep, it was a day that they got scattered everywhere. It's a lot less, self-damaging when you use it like that versus, oh man, you look like beep, So anyway, go ahead. I'm sorry, but I just wanted to throw that in there too. Whatever word you come up with, make it something that is less, less painful to you.
Yeah, like that's a good one for people in your life. What about like the general, public? Like you don't want to explain to everyone that, you can't do the Fremont Street call because you have an autoimmune disease, but you don't want people to think you're hungover or.
I guess, I don't know. I'm trying to think of how I deal with that. Samantha, what do you do?
Oh, I don't know. People definitely think I'm hungover. So my symptoms, other than not being able to eat things, is I'm always nauseous. Like think morning sickness to the nth degree all day long. I throw up quite a bit, depending on what I eat or if I wake up and do things too quickly. Like I usually need an hour in the morning of just like chill, like easy going. If I get out of bed too quickly, if I'm car sick, I can't ride the back seat. I can't go on cruises. You guys went on the cruise and I was all bummed because I couldn't go, and I'll probably never be able to go on a cruise. But then we did a reseller relaxation thing, so we're good.
We made up for Gatlinburg.
We're good. But so like at Boss, I was in the bathroom throwing up, which I have learned to do pretty quietly now. That's impressive. It's like a secret talent that I have. Yeah, I can. That is really impressive. Quietly in public places. But otherwise, people don't really know that I have that going on until they see that I can't eat something. I think that's the biggest tell, is the can't eat. Mm-hmm. And then, or if they hear me throw up, and then they just think I'm hungover. I don't know.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, because we've lived with you on trips many times, and you handle it beautifully. Like we don't, I don't ever feel like, oh gosh, Samantha needs us. I need to help her. I like you.
Good. I'm glad to know you're not like grossed out in the hotel room while I'm doing my thing.
Not at all. Yeah. Didn't even know. Good. Now Libby didn't know because she was sick and out of it, but I never knew until you would tell me, sorry about that. I'm like, what are you talking about? I don't even know what you're talking about.
Yeah, I mean, people generally just don't know.
Yeah.
But is there anything you?
I don't know if I have like the secret thing of like how to do it. You just have to be. I mean, like I accepted it for me. I know that this is a real thing that I have, and I've had people accuse me when I lost all the weight. My own grandmother first asked if I was bulimic. When I was pregnant with my daughter years before, I had hyperemesis and had a hard time getting my body out of that cycle after I had her. So I guess I was somewhat bulimic afterwards, but it didn't last long. So then it was just a few years later, I got this and wasn't diagnosed. So she at first thought I was bulimic, and I'm like, crying. I'm like, no, I really don't want to do this. And
No.
then once I was diagnosed, she didn't believe me. She thought that because I worked at the hospital and bariatric surgery, we had just became a bariatric surgery center of excellence. She thought that I had secretly gotten my stomach taken care of, a sleeve. And then I just didn't want to tell anybody. So I made up an illness. And she was very convinced that I was lying about it. So but at that point I was going to therapy. I had other people to talk to, and I was able to work that out and just smile at my grandma and say, Grandma, I can promise you I don't have that, but however you want to, it's kind of the same thing, Grandma. So either way, I still can't eat nuts. Like,
right. It's not. And I also find the older I get, the less I worry about it, because I think a lot of people, no matter what their situation is at our age and stage, well, not you, young and Samantha, but at my older age and stage, I'm okay saying to people now, you know what, I can't do that. I'm listening to my body and I just can't. I need a break. I just can't.
Yes.
I'm not up for that right now, and I'm sorry, but next time maybe I will be. You know what I mean? Like I don't get into the, I have an autoimmune disease, and I will say, you know what, I'm listening to my body, and right now I just can't. I just recently went to a concert and met family there, and an hour in, I just looked over at Nick and I'm like, I gotta go. Like, I can't. And usually I'm like, concert, give me a drink, let's have fun, love the music. And my body was saying, heck no. And I just, got up and said, we're going to head out. My body needs a break. It's, blah, blah, blah. And they were like, okay. And
I think that that's something that we just need to keep. I don't think there has to be an explanation. Nobody has to know that you have an autoimmune disease. Nobody has to know that we have things going on, because even if you don't, even if you just had a overstimulating day, or you it shouldn't matter. Anybody should be able to say, no, my body needs to rest, or I can't do that. Now, the difference though in this balance that we are always, I mean, everybody is always trying to do, but especially us, because we are so tired and we're not getting the vitamins that we should get in our body. Having the people around you that pull you out of it too, because you can have that day where, you're tired. I'm like, oh, we had meetings all morning. I'm going to list later. It's fine. I maybe go lay on the couch for a couple hours. Well, then the couple hours turns into all night. And then the next morning I'm like, being able, and my husband's like, you need to get your butt up there. Or Molly's calling saying, hey, we got to do this thing. Or having people that respect that you need to go down and you're done for the afternoon, but at the same time, they're not letting you do that every day. They're checking in on you and saying, hey, are you sicker than you realize? Because I could have the flu and not know it. I could have a lot of different things, and I know it because I have a lot of the symptoms of a stomach bug, of a whatever. And unless I spike a fever, I feel like I have the flu most days. So sometimes it requires are you sicker than you think you are? Do you need to get checked out? Or do we need to pull you out of that and get you back on track? So that balance with doing it for ourselves and surrounding ourselves with people that'll help us do it.
Yeah,
absolutely.
Yeah. I think you ladies are so brave. This brings us to the reason that we think this inside reseller wellness is so important, right? Because you don't see it. You don't see it in our daily lives, in their daily lives. You don't see the struggles. None of that. But I think it's really brave to come on here and talk about this.
Right.
And open yourself up, because what happens is there are other people that are also, I don't want to say you guys are silently struggling, because you are open about it, but it's not something we talk about on C chats or in the general, business world of reselling. But there are so many people that this is going to absolutely connect with, that are struggling with autoimmune disease and go, oh, me too. I'm not alone. I'm trying to figure this out. I'm balancing this. These are, two women I can talk to that are kind of going through a similar thing. You are absolutely not alone. And that is why these two ladies are being so brave and open about what they are struggling with, is because we want you to know that you're absolutely not alone. There are lots of resellers out there, lots of people out there that are struggling with this and making it work.
Right.
Making it work. All right.
Right.
I think you guys are such prime examples of not letting it hold you back at all. There are modifications you have to make.
Oh, sure.
And there are things you have to do throughout the day that are different, and you have to rest. I know, Mike, you talked about that. Again, I'm going to link that episode up, but you're not letting it hold you back.
No.
You're figuring ways to make it work. So that's what we want to hear.
Yeah, I mean, I worked 50, 60, 70, 80 hours a week during certain times at a normal 9 to 5 like office job, and I just learned my body of what I could and couldn't eat, and I need at least an hour before I get up and get, so I couldn't just roll out of bed and go right to work. Like that, I would spend the first hour at work being violently ill. Like that would not work. So just learning my body and adapting. But I have to make this work at home because my God, is it nice? Is it nice to not have to worry about, oh, I have to go to the bathroom right now. Oh, I have to go do it. Because with my interstitial cystitis of my bladder, like I have to pee all the time. And I'm not very good at, I do have one medication. It is for my bladder, and I'm not very good at remembering that medication. So I just have to pee all the time.
Disc.
I know.
Realistically, y'all, I'm going to say, I mean, there are times that we have like an episode to film, and it does take my everything to sign on and get in here. But once I'm here and I'm with you guys and I hit record, like I'm just ready to roll, But then when you do something like this and we finish, I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm done. Like
then you crash even harder afterwards. Yeah,
because you're giving it your everything to be here and to dig deep in topics and be, laughing and funny and smiling, and
we're just catching your spoons as they're flying at us.
Right.
Yeah.
And even though that is me, I am authentically me when I'm here. Sometimes it does take a lot of effort to say, get in there and get it done. And then when I'm in the middle of it, I forget that I had a hard time just getting here. But sometimes you just have to make yourself do it. It's like Samantha was saying, you can get into that slump and use it as an excuse. Don't use it as an excuse, because use it when you really need it. And there are times where I have had to call off of things with these ladies and be like, I can't. And they're like, okay. Like they know when I say I can't, I just can't. And but there are times where I go back and forth, but I push myself through, and then I'm like, so glad I did that. And I had a ball, and this was great. And, and you go through it, and then I'll rest later. But, as I mentioned earlier, Libby was talking about what do you do to get through these things and how do you make it work? Number one, in my mind, there's nothing better than the reselling business when you have an autoimmune disease.
Yeah.
Because you can create the schedule that works for your body. And that is what I have done. I've had to alter it several times for different reasons. But like I said earlier, the mornings are my jam time. I wake up, and that's when that's when you're going to get the best of me. That's when all the full set of spoons are there. And so I do my best and prioritize the most important things that have to be done in order for me to be successful with what I do with you girls on consignment chats and to keep my reselling business successful. Reseller reset on Sunday nights. We get together, we do that. And which I called out this past week because I had worked all day Saturday and Sunday with Nick. And when I finally relaxed and looked at the clock, and I was like, I can't do it. And I sent the girls a text and said, I'm sorry, I just can't show up Sunday. And
you're like, I finished X, Y, and Z, and that's what I got.
I just can't. And I had to listen. I was done. I mean, I just knew I couldn't pull that out. So you have to do that and do it when it's absolutely necessary to do it. Have there been other Sundays where Nick and I have been in the middle of a football game and I'm like, oh my gosh, I got to go up and do this thing, but I really want to watch this. But Do I call out? No, I go up and I do it. Right.
Which is ridiculous because honestly, like some football games, we should be calling out for. I'm just saying.
Right.
Yes.
But I utilize it when I truly physically and mentally have to have it. And I think that's the big thing, is reminding yourself to save those times when you need those breaks for when you really truly know you need it.
Yeah.
And adjust your schedule. If your spoons are full in the morning,
Absolutely.
prioritize your stuff in the morning. If you wake up like Samantha and it's harder to get going in the morning physically, then you save that schedule and put it later in the day when you want
to stay up all night like Samantha does late into the night listing. Crazy.
I do. My best listing is at night and I am not sick. Like it's great. I love it.
She and I are on complete opposite schedules, y'all.
We are. Somehow we meet in the middle.
Right? But it's what our bodies need. It's where we shine best. It's where we know physically and mentally we can give our best to our businesses during those hours. So when you're scheduling, nobody knows your body and your brain like you do. So know when you're at your highest points of productivity and focus. And that's when you schedule the big priority things you have to get done. Editing the episode, working on the coloring book, getting my 20 listings up. I'm going to get all those done then. And then the other things on the list, I'll do them as I can. If I still have power, then I go through them. If my body hits a wall, then I stop.
Yep.
And I think you touched on a really key point here is communicate that to the people around you. Like for me, working with both of you, it's really important for me to know that.
Yeah.
Like that's Samantha's time when she feels good. That's Molly's time when she feels good. And I can understand that. Like if you leave the people around you to try it, like speaking as an outsider, like if you leave the people around you to try to figure that out and like get in there, like I think it's really helpful that you guys have been open and communicated that. And I know that. So I think letting people know, hey, you don't have to let them know the gory details.
I was going to say, sometimes you're not very happy with knowing how often I'm in the bathroom or what's going on in there, but I feel comfortable with you. So that's
yeah. So definitely let people know. And
Sure.
You might want to spare them the details. That's kind of a personal choice.
But letting them know helps you know if they're your people or not. Like if they can't bend and help work around what your physical needs and limits are, then you're not with the right group. Like you have to be. Now we're a little different because we co-own this business. So we have to work together. And luckily, thank you, Lord, we have been put together and we are phenomenal together. We are. And, when one is down, the others pick up and it all ebbs and flows. When one deletes a video, the others say, let's record it. Sorry, I just had to. It works well for
Candace
us.
needed that. I know she did.
Needed that.
Yes. You're welcome, Candace. I hope you spit your salad everywhere with that one.
Yes. Our listeners that loves us, and we love you, Candace. It's important to tell them, and in telling them, you will know, are these my people or not? In your reselling business, you might find a community like our Patreon community or, that kind of thing. And our group is very supportive of anybody with whatever their ups and downs are. But if you get in one and you're not getting that support, move on. Find the right one. Find the ones that understand that. If you say, my body, I'm done. I gotta take a break.
Yeah. I love how you're working letting go into this because I'm passionate about that. I've let so much go in the past year and it has been just the most amazing experience to be able to walk away from certain things. And I think being able to walk away, they're not your people, then they're not your people. There are plenty of amazing people out there that can be supportive. Don't be afraid and don't be hanging on to people that are not supportive. You have enough that you're struggling with.
Yep.
You don't need anybody that's gonna put you in a negative space or not be supportive.
Life is too short, y'all. Find the people that make you happy and support you and that you love and you feel joy in, and run with that crew.
Yeah. Amen. Run. And I just want to say for the 10th time, mental health it has a roller coaster. Reach out and talk to somebody. Get doctors that listen to you. I went through so many doctors that told me I was gonna have feeding tubes, I was gonna have surgeries, I was gonna so many things, many terrible things. Get people that listen to you, get help, and surround yourself by good people.
Yep.
All right. So in summary, number 1, advocate for yourself.
Yes.
Mhm.
Number 2, get your head on straight before you conquer anything else or reach out. Sorry. Oh, I got balloons flying here. Number 2, get your head on straight. Take care of that mental health piece of it. There is a lot that goes on. There may be a lot of physical symptoms, but get your head on straight. That will put you in the right place to take care of number 3, which is find your people, find your community, find the support you need.
Yep.
1, advocate. 2, what was number 2? 2, get your head on straight. And 3, find your people and find that support.
So you can get support to get the schedule that works best for you.
Absolutely.
Yes. And Molly and I are here if you need to talk about anything, if you are struggling with something, if you just want to say, hey, I got something similar and it's nice to know, like we're here. Yeah. We're living it and we're thriving.
And if you're living with people with autoimmune disease, Libby's here for you.
Yes. Yes. I can help you cope as well.
Hopefully she's thriving with us as well. Some days it's a challenge.
Right. Believe me, I come with my own challenges. It might not be an autoimmune disease, but I got plenty of challenges.
We all bring our things to the table, don't we?
Yeah. All right, guys. Any closing thoughts?
I think that's the biggest thing was your top 3 and getting the schedule that works best for you, listening to your body and knowing that if we're here, you'll find your people.
Yeah.
Oh, and yes. And everybody go, well, that's the book club. Everybody go get the coloring book.
Link provided below.
Support Fearless Reseller. Yes. Yes.
Great job. All right, guys. Thank you for being so brave and so open. That is not easy. And I appreciate you so much.
All
right.
Thanks, babe.
Until
next time. Cheers.
Thank you for joining Libby, Molly, and Samantha, the ladies of Consignment Chats, as we grow your reselling business. For all things Consignment Chats, visit us at consignmentchats.com. And join our free private communities on Facebook and/or Patreon.